In this tutorial, we will be placing instances of our static mesh, the elm tree that we'd made in a previous tutorial, around the island, and we'll also be placing instances of our rigid body object, which is a dynamic mesh that we created earlier. Actually, we created a stone cube, and since then I've created a ball or a sphere that's a rusty metal texture. So that's what I'm going to be placing in my island. So with the Vicious Engine open, go up to the game and make sure you have the physics demo map open. That's where our island is. And you can see that I already have one elm tree in. There's my main character, Gwen. We have entities and static instances. If you click on static instances, that'll show all your static meshes and basically things that don't move. And so we have obj elm, our elm tree. So if we click back or F1, you'll also see entities. That's our dynamic meshes, or things that will be moving. So right now we have CHR Gwen, that's our main character, and that's all we have that actually moves. Let's go ahead and create a new entity that will be our rusty metal ball that we can place on our island so we can kick it around and move it around. So click the create button, and I'm going to call this dyn underscore sphere underscore rusty metal. That's the same name I had given it before. Looks like it's a little bit too long, so mine's just going to be rusty MET there. And then I'm going to click on template, the create button, and again I'm going to call it dyn underscore sphere underscore rusty MET. And now for the model template, if you click on the plus sign, we should be able to find our object. Mine was dyn sphere rusty MET. I'm going to click on that, and now you can see it shows on the screen. It's kind of actually in the island a little bit right now, but if you click on the transform tool and select your object, so select by name dyn sphere, you can move it around to wherever you want to place it. I'm going to set mine pretty close to Gwen. Maybe between her and the tree. And again, to put it on the island, or to drop it on the island, just press the D key and it drops it down. Now if we were just adding a dynamic object, that would be all we would need to do. But since ours is a rigid body object and we're going to have physics working on it, then we need to go into the model template and click on the physics controller template, bring that up to 1. So we're going to have one physics controller template. And then hit the little create next to that, and we are choosing rigid body controller template. Now before we do any other steps, this would be a good time to save. I'm going to press Control S. Make sure we have everything saved, because sometimes it just crashes here. But now we're going to, after you save it, add a body property. So bring that up to 1, and then click on the edit there. We're going to say MC underscore physics. That's the same collider name that we had given our object in 3D Studio Max. Down under mass, probably a good mass for a metal ball the size that it is would be like 50 kilograms. I'm just going to make mine 5 so that I can show you what a mass of 5 kilograms would be when in the environment, and then I might go back in and change it later. Let's go back to the selection tool and click on our object. We want to give this an activation mask of 1. So the game knows when to make it active and when not to make it active. And then click on the template. Go down to controllers and bring that up to 1. And then click the create there, and we are going to make a rigid body controller template. And then you can see here the state machine. This is going to be the thing that tells the ball how to act or how to interact with the environment. And we're just going to use the low level, click on the down arrow, and we're going to use LL physics object. Low-level physics object. Okay, and then there's one more thing we need to do before we can run this. Click on your map, and then under On Map Started, let's click on that. Remember we gave it an activation mask of 1, so we want to make sure that we activate everything that has that activation mask when we start the map. So I'm going to right click and say Add Action, Entity, Activate. Let's give that an activation mask of 1, and the action is going to be Rigid Body Wake Up. And then click back over here and you'll see the changes. But now you can see that when the map is started, it will wake up everything that has an activation mask of 1. Alright, let's try running it. Okay, so there's the ball, and you can see it already started rolling, and that's because it's already kind of on a hill, and the physics for that would make it roll. You can also see it's kind of transparent a little bit. That's just because of the texture we chose for it. And if I run up and run into it, you can see I can move it around. Now how much I can move it around and how fast it moves depends on that 5 kilograms that we gave it. If it was a lot lighter, it'd move a lot easier. If it was heavier, I might not be able to move it at all. But now if I run up to it and kick it, you can see that it gives a force to it. Now, the other thing I wanted to do in this tutorial is show you how to put instances of things into your environment. So instead of taking up a lot of memory by creating many objects and wasting time creating many objects, we want to be able to just use these objects multiple times. So let's start with the static mesh, the tree. I'm going to click on that, press Ctrl C, that copies it, and then press Ctrl V, that'll paste in another tree for you. And then you can use the transform tool to move it around a little bit, and the D key to drop it. Then another thing you might want to do so that the trees don't all look identical is click on the rotate tool, and you can rotate them a little bit, maybe change the angle a little bit, and so that every tree that you see won't look exactly the same. Alright, now I've added quite a few trees. You can see in the top view where they're placed pretty well. I can do the same thing with the dynamic mesh. If I click on that, press Ctrl C, and press Ctrl V, you can see I have another one that showed up in the top view. And if I click on the transform tool, I can bring it to wherever I want it. And when I press the D key, that'll drop it. And you can see there's 2 balls right next to each other now. Let's do that one more time. So I'll press Ctrl V again, and we'll just put one behind Gwen as well. And press the D key, that drops it, and I'm going to go ahead and run it. You can see they immediately start moving. Run up to one and kick it. You can see it fly off into the distance. If I would kick one into a tree, it bounces off. If I kick them into each other, they react with each other. And if I kick it, it looks like it's running into all kinds of stuff, but you saw it hit the other ball and the other ball went rolling off.